お、来たね。それで今日はどこに行くんだい？
What's up, man? Hello.
お任せ。花のように散る。おりゃ、ありがとう。これでおりゃ、隙だらけね。もう終わりにしよう。せい。おりゃ、隙だらけだよ。後悔しても遅いから。遅い。お姉さんが負けるわけないでしょ。
Yes, put your right foot in front of the camera. This game is Lunar City. Lunar City.
暴力には暴力か。最悪の組み合わせだ。くらえ。おりゃ。ありがとう。遅い。せい。はあ。もう終わりにしよう。反省の時間だよ。好きだらけね。こちらはいつだ。これは希望を守る。一撃。遅い。そこ。遅い。吠えろ。キラン。お姉さんが負けるわけないでしょ。荒事ならカーリー姉にお任せ。花のように散る。感謝。これもみんなありがとう。これで好きだらけね。もう終わりにしよう。食らいなさい。はあ。食らえ。後悔しても遅いから。これでそこ。食らいなさい。遅い。感謝し。これで落ち着いてまいりましょう。くらえ。終わります。それじゃ後片付けしよっか。
Get some shoes. We got the view thing going on. Wins tournaments and stuff, but can't afford shoes.
荒事ならカーリー姉にお任せ。
Must hurt.
花のように散る。感謝する。ありがとう。好きだらけね。好きだらけだよ。遅い。もう終わりにしよう。はあ。こちらは後悔しても遅いから。好きだらけね。感謝し。遅い。はあ。これが代償だよ。お姉さんが負けるわけないでしょ。 にお任せ。花のようにおりゃありがとう。食らいなさい。好きだらけね。もう終わりにしよう。遅い。落ち着いてまいりましょう。こちらはいつでも。直行は夜、横は無謀。さあ、お眠りなさい。遅い。吠えろ。
Yeah, the announcement was a bunch of total shmups, which is cool.
そこ。じゃあね。
It's like all the shmups that Total Plan made in the late 80s to like mid 90s are getting releases. Seems like that was the announcement. So, I mean, I am an arcade junkie, so that's actually pretty cool. I probably will buy those because I did grow up with a decent chunk of them. But it's not rushing beats, which is what I was hoping. Voice volume is kind of low. Lower than usual? I haven't changed anything. Testing. Is that better? Might be the game. Let me know if that's better. Let me see if I can fix that. I did turn it up a bit. Audio balance in this game is really messed up. Let's try that. How's that sound? Better? Let me turn down the mic a little bit then. Yeah, I don't know why they're doing exact same thing AAA companies do, is announce stuff way too soon. It's nowhere near ready. It's like nowhere close to being ready apparently, but they announce it so soon, and then when they do show something from it, they get people that don't know how to play video games. So it's hard to tell if it's even worth your time. That's just how it is right now. Don't expect everybody to be super sweaty and passionate about niche action game genres, but I don't know, when you're like marketing the game to people, they're going to be looking for a decent gameplay. I don't think that's too much to ask, but apparently it is with this game. Seems like it. Like, I don't think somebody that has never played a beat 'em up before should be in charge of marketing the game. I'm sorry if that's harsh, but it's kind of true, really. We'll get somebody on stage to stream the game and they don't even know how to play. Can't, like, give them a crash course of some sort. I don't even know if I can even expect that game to come out this year. Seems like it's a no. It's possible that we're having the Grand Theft Auto anxiety, but instead of it being for Grand Theft Auto, it's for Absalom and Cosmic Invasion, and then Revive. Maybe they think the end of this year is too saturated. It's too saturated for beat 'em ups, so they're maybe the game is mostly done. They're just like waiting for a time to release it. They've still got a few months. Pretty sure all those games aren't coming out until the end of the year, so I don't know. Maybe they'll ramp up marketing soon. I wouldn't be surprised if that's part of it, though. It's not normal for there to be like 4 beat 'em ups coming out in the fall and winter. That's not normal. It hasn't been like that since legit I was a kid. And you guys know how old I am. That was a long time ago. You didn't get that many beat 'em ups. You don't get that many beat 'em ups in a couple month time frame anymore. This year apparently we are, so maybe that's part of it. And all the beat 'em ups that are coming out are all like doing like vastly different things, though. I don't really think they overlap that much. Absalom is a roguelike, and then Revive is like a pretty unique take on a 3D beat 'em up. Cosmic Invasion just looks like Shredder's Revenge, but with better combat and the tag system, which is pretty cool because there's like not many beat 'em ups that have that kind of mechanic. And then Rushing Beat's very hard to tell because the gameplay quality has been so bad, but seems like Rushing Beat is kind of a little bit like Revive, and doing something a little bit different with 3D instead of pixel art, and then having like the meal system and the air combos and the multiple characters. But who knows, man? I've already know that a lot of larger games they delayed their releases because of GTA 6, and now that got pushed back an entire year. They're probably regretting doing that, but at the same time they have more time for polish now. But yeah, it is kind of strange that we're getting like 4 beat 'em ups at the end of this year. That's like way more than normal. Normally you're lucky to get like two games like that a year, but we already got Wendigo Blue, and then we got the 4 coming, and then well, Towerborn kind of counts, I guess. But yeah, there's like been 6. There's gonna be 6 beat 'em ups this year. Who knows, man? I hope they ramp it up soon. At least like tell us what's going on, because it's starting to get a little old. They announced like literally everything about that game. I'm like, can you just, if you can't lock down a release date, at least show somebody halfway decent playing it. don't think that's too much to ask. And apparently it is. You don't have anybody in that development team that can just like sit down and play it halfway decent for 10 minutes unedited without any cuts or stuff that prevent you from seeing the game. Apparently it's too hard for them to do that. I think that would quell a lot of the anxiety around that game, is they've shown the least. They've shown the least out of everything that's been announced so far. Absalom had the max gameplay. He played for a few hours, and then Revive has had a decent amount of gameplay. Cosmic Invasion is also kind of there's something that's coming out this year. Also has like very little gameplay too. I'm hoping they ramp that up soon, because Shredder's Revenge was okay, but I didn't really care much for the gameplay. It was only okay. I wasn't a big fan of it. So if the gameplay is better and the bosses take hits done, I'll probably like that game, but I haven't seen enough about it to be super interested currently. I don't know, if Revive sucks, doesn't really matter. I think people put a little bit too much weight into Double Dragon games, in my opinion. It's the least formulaic franchise I've ever seen. This is coming from somebody who plays Musou games, but like, every Double Dragon game is made by different people, and it plays completely differently, so there's not really any attachment to it. If it's a bad game, then the next one will be made by different people, and one will play completely differently. So a lot of people don't understand that about Double Dragon. It's pretty much been like that since the beginning. You don't like to just stick to a formula, for better or for worse. There's been some really bad Double Dragon games. I mean, a lot of people didn't even like Gaiden, and Gaiden is one of the better Double Dragon games. Like, way better than most of them, actually. But, you know, the art style was a turn-off for some. The art style was a turn-off for some, and then the tag system not everybody likes. The moveset is relatively small because, you know, they want you to cycle through characters and not just stick on one for too long. But it's still, like, one of the better games in the series. And, like, even that game has its fair amount of haters. But yeah, I think people get a little bit too weird with Double Dragon. They don't understand it's been like that. Like, the NES Double Dragon is better than the arcade one. The arcade one is laggy and janky. The NES one is more cleaned up because it's not a quarter muncher. You paid a flat rate for it. So even back then, in the beginning, the late 80s, they weren't really sticking to a formula. not like Final Fight, where Final Fight 2 is just Final Fight 1 with different skins of characters and less action, because there's only 3 enemies on screen. They didn't start even remotely messing with the formula until 3. 3 was a pretty big evolution. Well, if that's the case, then why don't they show something? Why don't they show something? I feel like if the game isn't ready to be shown, isn't ready to be released, they should at least show some footage. I wish games would go back to not being announced until they're like less than a year away. It's getting tiresome. Like everybody thought GTA 6 was coming this year, and then they're like, everybody, the whole industry is all anxious about when to release their products because they know that that game is going to eat up most people's entertainment budget for that month. They don't want the game to be buried. Then it gets pushed back a year again. I just can't get excited for stuff like without release dates anymore. It's starting to get really tiresome. I'd rather like just not know about the game at all until it's going to be coming out relatively soon. And now everything is coming soon. It says 2026. It's like, well, I don't really want to know about the game now then. I can't plan around that. Especially living on a low income. I like to just get the games when I can, or plan my purchases around my payments and stuff. Just give you a vague date, and they're like not even anywhere far enough along to really bother. It's always really weird when a game seems like pretty far along, but then it goes like a year with no gameplay, no release date, not even like a vague, like just putting the year like 2025, 2026. I don't know, I'm just like not interested at that point. I'm interested in the product, but I can't plan around it. Seemed like it was pretty far along. It's a very weird game because they showed playable footage, gameplay footage, like right away, but it's nowhere to be found. They even had like demo builds and stuff. Like, why don't you release that during the next fest? I hope it gets released at the next fest. Next fest is supposed to be in June. like when they announced Bayonetta 3 with a mostly dark CG trailer. Like, no gameplay. Apparently when they did that trailer, they had like barely even started working on it, so that's another example of a game for niche audiences that's not going for mainstream, basically doing what AAA studios do. And they announce it with no gameplay. They barely started working on it, so of course there's no release date. Bayo 3 was a mess, because it's like 3 years from announcement to release. Like, when they announced that game, they had done no work on it at all. just barely started. Weird flex to announce a game that soon. DMC5 was interesting because it was a very badly kept secret. There were a lot of hints you could find that it was coming, but nothing official. So there was like a longer period of that, but generally, when the game got announced officially, it was like 9 months. So they did a good amount of marketing. They had a demo for it. Itsuno himself did a couple streams for it and stuff. So it wasn't that long, and they kept you updated about what the game was actually going to be. 5 actually does make some pretty major changes, so it wasn't entirely a very formulaic game. Not to the extent of Double Dragon. Double Dragon is just, they just do whatever the heck they want. I felt good buying that game because they communicated with us. Even though it was very obvious that it was happening, it was still exciting when it was officially announced, and then it didn't take that long. I really think the game is almost done, but they don't know when to release it. I won't be surprised if it's early next year, because like by then, this onslaught of beat-em-up will have been out for a few months, and they'll feel like they have more of a chance without Cosmic Invasion is apparently holiday season, so I'm guessing November or December. That might actually be like the last one to come out, but it is going to be like a couple months in a row of like high-profile beat-em-ups. That probably is a pretty big part of it. The GTA situation, but with beat-em-ups instead of a mainstream open world game. Would not surprise me if that was the case. Not the first time something like that has happened. Of all time. It's like, people were already really wanting a third game, but then they made the decision to announce it when they had like written like one line of code, or they made like one rock or something. No. It wasn't vaporware. It's like, it did come out, but they said nothing about it for years. I don't know what possessed them to think that that was a good idea. It clearly didn't work. Like the opposite of working, it failed miserably. They got people amped up for something that was nowhere near ready. I really like how RGG does it. They don't announce anything until it's very close to releasing. Like, it's not much more than like a year, if even that. Like, really quick. Chest! What the heck? Oh man. This mode is like a lot less polished than the main mode. It is kind of fun. But definitely feels like you don't power spike as quickly. It's not as interesting. That doesn't really matter. Just switch games if I lose. has like 2 tracks. Very weird. Put a lot of effort into the pixel art. This game has a really nice art style, despite obviously being like low budget, but there's like 1 track. Might have to bust out custom soundtracks for this next time. Starting to grate on me a little bit. Same track.
Just consistently good gameplay. There were so many bad beat-em-ups last year. I really feel like a lot of people are trying to reinvent the wheel instead of just doing what works. Last year was like actually one of the worst years for beat-em-ups ever. Pretty much since post-Final Fight hype. That was obviously a very bad time. Going back to that again. Just want some consistent quality, mostly. Quality has been all over the place. We got Double Dragon Gaiden last year, which is like 1,000 times better than the other stuff that came out. Last year was real rough to be a beat-em-up fan. I just want to see some consistency. Like, it's okay to have your game be derivative, but to
actually fun to play. Nobody bought the G.I. Joe game. Nobody bought the Karate Kid game. Those games bombed. Power Rangers is kind of just Shredder's Revenge, but worse. Shredder's Revenge already had pretty one-dimensional combat as it is. It was greatly carried by the music and the art, and the fact that it had pullback was big as well. That's actually one of the biggest credits to its success. Streets 4 netcode was not good for the average person that's not into doing infinite combos and stuff. That's something that they really dropped the ball on. Turtles had very good netcode. You could play 6 players cross-platform, and it was very, very stable. Felt like fighting games really. Power Rangers was just we're gonna copy Shredder's homework and not even make it play as good as that. It was a dire time to be a beat 'em up. It felt like there were so many games coming out, but none of them were any good. The only good games that came out last year was Vengeance Hunters and Gaiden. And then if you count Fight Forever, that's definitely up there as well, but Fight Forever is also a fan game, so some people may not consider that to be in the contender, in the competition, because it's fan-made. It was definitely a very dire time to be a beat-em-up fan, for sure. Like, we were getting games, but they weren't good games. They weren't good games. That was the issue. I think they tried to salvage Power Rangers as much as they could, but the decision to make everybody play exactly the same, despite giving them different sprites, they really wrote themselves to a corner by doing that. I don't know why. I don't know what possessed them to think that that was a good idea. They actively sabotaged their own game by doing that. That was the #1 complaint about that game from, like, literally everybody. People like me that are hardcore passionate about beat-em-ups, and then just, like, normal people playing with their kids or their wives or whatever. They all hated it. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. The game had no chance. They pretty much doomed themselves for failure with that game the moment that they decided to do that. From what I understand, they added like 1 extra move per character, but it's obviously really hard to add new frames to sprites and stuff, and the amount they would have done probably wouldn't have been worth the money it takes. The damage was already done with that game. I was really excited to get a Power Rangers beat-em-up, because, you know, I'm a big Toku fan, but I could not, in good faith, recommend that game to anybody. Just go play Batride War Genesis. Not the same kind of beat-em-up, but it is a Muso game, so it's a 3D beat-em-up. It is a much better game, probably with a lower budget. We're never going to know how much money Batride War cost to make. The game is obviously made on a shoestring budget. Last year, just had a lot of teams that don't really have any business making a professional beat-em-up. I think a lot of people just want everything to be like Street DLC as a review key. Like the only beat 'em ups I bought last year was Vengeance Hunters. That was like the only one I deemed was worth playing. Vengeance Hunters was the best beat 'em up release last year. It kind of does the game a disservice because there are so many bad games in the genre last year. Vengeance Hunters is a legit good game. Now we're getting Shredder's Revenge clones. That's the new thing now. Shredder's Revenge clones. And I kind of don't like that because that game's combat is only okay. It's definitely not the best. There are a lot of really good things about the game, though. The fact that it took the netcode seriously is a pretty big part of its success. More than people want to admit. I remember when Streets 4 came out, a lot of people were very unhappy with the netcode. Yeah, the game was fine if you just played by yourself, but Karate Kid seemed like less so, but it also wasn't very competently designed. So, which was a shame. It felt like one of those games where the art team did a good job. The art style of Karate Kid and the backgrounds and stuff, the pixel art's pretty good. It's not Shredder's Revenge level, but above average, especially for like a smaller budget game. Combat was just a mess. Shredder's Revenge is nowhere near the depth of Streets 4, but the art style applied with a lot more people. Some people don't like hand-drawn. They want either pixel art or 3D, and that's pretty much what Shredder's was. Shredder's was really great pixel art, and then great soundtrack, backlit code. It's a solid game for the average person. Just if you're looking for a more unique roster, that game is very lacking, and the overall depth of the combat is average. Most people don't care about that. I think they prioritized the right things when they made that game, which is just making sure that you can just play it with people without any hoops to jump through. That did that game a lot of favors. People tried to get Streets 4 going, and that netcode just wasn't up for it. best things about that game that developers should prioritize is not the gameplay. It's the fact that they had rollback. And it's kind of weird because, like, all the games are ignoring that pretty much. Streets of Rage 4 is like the most technical beat 'em up to come out in a long time. You just, like, can't really do that stuff online unless you use Parsec or but argue Shredder's Revenge doesn't even need rollback because it's such a simple game. It was definitely one of the reasons why it was successful. It was a good idea to take that seriously, but then a lot of these other games don't even have online at all, let alone rollback. Beat 'em ups are going through what fighting games went through. Rollback is kind of it's a maybe. It's a maybe if a beat 'em up has it. Pretty much only one of them does right now. I don't know if the Power Rangers game does. I don't think it does. I'm sure it's based. Beat 'em up since the beginning. I actually do think last year was one of the worst years for the genre. I mean, for years where we actually got games, it definitely was one of the worst years. There were so many stinkers last year. Quality disparity between Vengeance Hunters and Gaiden compared to everything else was really huge. Usually not that massive of a difference, but there was. Power Rangers was just weird because they obviously put a lot of effort into it. The art style was really nice, but they made that boneheaded decision to make everybody that same. I think they expected people to not care about that, which obviously backfired. It's kind of like clones in Muso games, but worse, in my opinion, because it wasn't just, hardcore fans that didn't like it. They were getting massive hate from everybody involved that bought the game. Like, just people that were playing with their kids and stuff didn't like it. Like, that's really bad. That's very bad. how you know you made the wrong decision. And, it's not just sweaty cyborgs that buy like every kind of game like that hated it. It was literally everybody that bought it hated it. Try as they might, bless them for trying, but that's one of those things where that needs to be decided, like, before you start making the assets. Like, you need to be, making the game with, like, having them play differently in mind. Because it's not an easy thing to fix, especially when you're doing pixel art. Seems like they tried to fix it, but it was too little, too late. I think they just gave them like a Super Joy attack that animates differently, and that's it. And then they added passive stats, which doesn't really solve the problem. Does very little to solve anything, really. Like I said, the game wasn't built for having them play differently. I think to make them play differently, they basically would have had to like make a new game worth of character assets. It's a real shame. I really like the soundtrack of that game. The soundtrack is really good. It's just the game just... Everybody told me it was just Shredder's Revenge, but worse. I'm like, well, I already didn't like that game that much. I mean, it was okay. It just didn't have the depth I was looking for, so I'm not really down to play something that's just that but worse. It's kind of like Vampire Survivors clones. Vampire Survivors clones and Souls-likes are a lot like Shredder's Revenge clones, where they do some things differently, but they have like so much less content. Like, Kazan is a good game, don't get me wrong, but very weird for the inspiration to be like Neo games, all the Team Ninja games, and like only have 3 weapon types. That's kind of a Power Ranger situation. Like, nobody likes that. You know, there's people just playing it relatively chill on like easy mode and not interested in doing the whole game, no damage or hardcore stuff like that. They don't like that there's 3 weapon types, and then the core audience, which is like people like me that have played a fair amount of Souls-likes, even though they're all Team Ninja, they didn't like that either. I'd say the difference between Kazan and the Power Rangers game is that the movesets are pretty in-depth in Kazan, so even though there's only 3, there's enough depth in those to account for multiple weapons and like other Souls-likes. But it is still kind of the same problem. They didn't build the game with more than 3 weapon types in mind, so it's anyone's guess if they'll end up making more. So yeah, I would say, I think beat 'em ups have a pretty bright future at the moment, because we're getting like 4 games this year. Maybe 5 if Rushing Beat makes it. But they're not Shredder's Revenge clones, which is really good. Like, I saw the combat in Rita's Rewind is a lot like Shredder's, but way slower. And then, like, in Shredder's at least, especially with the DLC, they made the characters play a lot differently, but even the base roster, they did have some differences. They're like minute differences, but they weren't complete clones, right? And Power Rangers was like the combat was slower and less responsive, and then everyone plays the same. They have zero differences, so it really was just Shredders but worse, which sucks because I'm a big Toku fan. The game just did not deliver. Yeah, see, this is the update they did. So basically, they added a Super Joy. They added a Super Joy, which animates differently, but how much does that really matter? Does that really change how you play the game? No. Super Joys are different in Final Fight, but they all like function mostly the same. It's not something that really defines how the character plays. They added ground tech, which I think is pretty good. Um, they added stats. I haven't seen how much this changes it, but doesn't seem like much. And then they added mutators, or like dip switches, whatever you want to call them. Depends on how old you are. Mutators or dip switches are basically the same thing, but they added dip switches. I don't really think any of this is enough. It doesn't really fix the problem. so, so this person says the stats don't even do anything, which was kind of what I thought when they announced that. Just giving them stats does not enough. They need to actually play differently. I think this review is actually pretty interesting because it seems like somebody who doesn't understand arcade style beat 'em ups and they're supposed to be replayable, but then he says that the lack of variety in the combat mechanics, like you're getting both sides of the spectrum here, right? Like it's really hard to get people to pay like $35-$40 for an arcade beat 'em up, unless you have like some kind of roguelike mode or like upgrades or something. But then this guy basically points out that the lack of variety is making him not want to play it again. Apparently, he only beat it once. Seems like it's good for one playthrough, but well, I think this year and let me reword this for this year. Beat 'em ups and character action games. There's a lot weighing on it because we're getting way more releases than usual. But if they're bad or they don't sell or both, then we're gonna go back to nothing but roll slop. So I hope Ninja Gaiden 4 is good. I hope all the beat 'em ups that are supposed to release are good, and I hope Lost Soul Aside delivers, especially Lost Soul Aside because that's the one that's been in development hell the longest. Seems like Ninja Gaiden went relatively smoothly. Yeah, there's a lot hinging on these games, especially for this channel. Like these games need to be really good, otherwise I think we're going to go back into another Dark Ages. Last year I felt was really close because it's just like nobody liked those beat 'em ups that came out, not even just regular people. And I think that's a bad sign. It's one thing if you can make something uh, that's successful with normal people that are just playing casually with their friends, and being able to appease nutcases like me. That's kind of why Shredders was successful. They weren't really going for the nutcase hardcore cyborg audience, but they put effort into the right things to make it do well regardless. But the other beat 'em ups that came out, except for Gaiden and Vengeance Hunters, felt like they were for nobody. Yeah, pretty much everybody said that Rita's Rewind was uh, Shredders but worse. I hope that they will try again. I know at the end of the game there's like a sequel hook. I hope if they try again that they get it right next time.
Devil May Cry HD Collection.
It's kind of like Samurai Warriors 5 was kind of like that too. Samurai Warriors 5 was an interesting case because they did change the combat, some things for the better, but then having that many clones triggered everybody and not just people like me. Actually, it's kind of similar to Shredders. Actually, I'd say it's worse than Shredders because they had way more clones. And it was supposed to be a reboot, so you would think that with the reboot you wouldn't add more characters than you can make movesets for. But apparently that's not the case. You guys have visuals right now? Playing DMC. Alright, good.
しみだ。
So they added an ability to buy style level ups, but apparently they don't save because this just came out like 3 hours ago. So that's actually really cool. It gives more of a use for the orbs because it usually takes it's like 2 playthroughs to max out everything, but it takes longer in a way because when you style switch, you're getting less XP. Because I did the Switch version, and unless you grind, you only have like 1 maxed out because the game wasn't really designed with it in mind. So I'll probably just buy some other stuff to get through this quicker. This game does not have Steam Cloud, so I have to play through the game again. So far, the mode's pretty good. I've actually really been enjoying it so far, even though I'm very rusty. I'm only like 2005 good at this game. Not at the point where other people are out where they like never stop playing it. That's pretty much how I am with every DMC. Like, I know how to play, but I'm not top level. This just makes the game better though, which is I think a good thing. Because already 3 and 5 are the best games in the series. I don't remember where to go though. Kinda wish I had my save from before. This is one of those games that really should have Steam Cloud, but for some reason it says unsupported on Steam Deck. Maybe that's why they don't care. This is one of those unsupported games that should be supported. I don't remember where to go. Bloody Palace in this game, I think, is the best because you can just fight stuff, and you have like 10,000 floors. It's actually really nice that they let you do that. Like, yeah, doing the puzzles and stuff in this game I do not care for at all. Even when the game was new 20 years ago. Like, yeah, that's not why I play this. That's right, it's right over here. Yeah, you gotta go back.
Come on, stand still. Come and get me. You scared? Stand still. You scared? Breakdown.
Here's the menu again. Oh yeah, right here. Very rusty. Remember some of the old strats, but not that many. So far, this feels really fun. It's basically the old mod, but improved. More stuff. Yeah. What's up, man? Yeah, Crimson just came out. But I'm like not very good at this game. I'm good at this game for the PS2 era. PS2 era me is good at this game. But not compared to the people who played it for 20 years straight and have like 30,000 hours. That's not me. But I know how to play the game. I still remember a lot of the exploits and stuff, but I haven't played seriously since like before 4 came out. 'Came 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 out. 'C Yeah, I'm enjoying it so far with my slightly above average skill level. Really good. I feel like my hands probably would have fallen apart if I took this game super seriously. I was pretty good at this game at the start. I was very involved in the community back then. Same thing with 4. I was pretty good at 4 for the time, but it's just one of those series where sometimes people just didn't stop playing. And I can't compete with them. But although my level of play tonight is pretty bad. That's alright though. I'm having fun, that's all that matters. Yeah, this is definitely the hardest DMC game. This was my end of school life game, because this game came out a couple months before I graduated high school. It was like the main thing that kept me going was having this come out. I got the wall scroll and everything. I don't have many fond memories of school, but I was really happy when this came out. It was the highlight of that year for me, besides being out of school. One of the best games ever made comes out like 3 months before you graduate. It's pretty sweet. Here's the famous combo video room right here. This is where you did your combo videos and your training, because there was no training mode. You just stayed in here for hours. I have many fond memories of being in this room for like hours on end. This was the room to do it right here. Oh, did you play 1.0? Did you play 1.0? Yeah, that game had some really fun. The Agni and Rudra in that game, I wish somebody would mod into 5. The Agni and Rudra in that game was so much fun, man. The Beowulf as well. Yeah, I played 1.0. There's still some remnants of it on my channel. But yeah, that game had some really fun alterations to old movesets. The Agni and Rudra in that game was so much fun. Had like those ground bounces and the aerial tornado and stuff. Really fun. But it's gone now. Dust in the wind. Another dead game on my channel. Well, I know there's probably no video essays about this, but I'll talk about 1.0 of Peak of Combat for a bit. Basically, the movesets are really cool. There weren't that many weapons, but you could switch between two, and you had 2 attack buttons, so it kind of played more like a Musou game, where you had like a light button and a strong button, and you had attack set of dashes because there weren't lock-on attacks because, you know, it had to be played with the touchscreen. But they took a lot of liberties. They had like a lot of new moves. There were different strings with properties. Aerial stuff was really cool. Like, they had an aerial million stab in that game. There was aerial tornado. So much cool stuff. It also changed properties of some of the moves that were recycled from 3, 4, and 5. The legendaries gave you different moves, and some of those moves are really fun, but there was no pity system, so you kind of just had to keep playing and playing and playing until you got it. And once you got the legendary, it was permanently unlocked. There was a lot of really fun stuff that you could do in that game, and they definitely took some really cool liberties with existing movesets. Like, Agni and Rudra desperately needs a DMC5 style, revamp. Now, of course, that weapon didn't make it into 5. I think if they had done the DLC that was rumored, then maybe it would have. But yeah, they completely revamped that weapon. It was so much fun. The problem with the game was not the combat. There was some weird jank in that game, like the camera. The way that the enemies behave when the camera is not on them was not at all like the actual games. Even the reboot has that, right? Where an enemy doesn't initiate an attack while they're on screen, they won't attack you. In that game, you could get hit off screen all the time, like Ninja Gaiden. So there were some inconsistencies, but the main problem with the game was that they just had no content. Like, they put everything into the combat system and the new moves and stuff, The monetization was poor. You could definitely one-shot everything if you spent enough money. Virgil was insanely expensive to get, like, which made no sense because he's literally $5 on DMC5, which Virgil was already out at the point that 1.0 came out. It went months and months with no content at all, like, besides legendaries. Towards the end, they did add a pity system for the legendaries, which did help, but it still wasn't enough, and the game just didn't feel like they knew how to make a service game. They knew how to make a good combat. I mean, the combat in that game I liked more than even like PGR and stuff, and it definitely kept as much of the combat from like 4 and beyond as much as they could with touchscreen limitations, but it all just kind of fell apart because it wasn't a very good game to play. There were no updates at all. Their idea of an update was a new legendary, which admittedly was quite a bit because, you know, a weapon in a game like this can give you tons of entertainment. But there just wasn't anything to do. The game was... it was like PGR, but worse. We're talking PGR from a few years back, where they didn't have all the side modes that they do now, and you pretty much just did Pain Cage and Warzone and logged off. It was way worse than that. And I think part of the problem was because they put so much into the story, and they didn't seem to understand that putting that much effort into a story for an instance-based game is never worth it, because people only play it once. It's a lot of production values for basically a campaign like what I'm currently playing. This game only take for casual player or somebody like me that's played the game multiple times but is rusty. You could beat this game in like 2 medium-sized sittings. But like in a gacha game, there's no reason to ever replay it, right? Because you're not really getting any kind of progress from doing it. They put a lot into the story mode, and it had some pretty cool bosses and stuff, but they just could not deliver on like repeatable content. The repeatable content in the game was very lackluster. The coolest thing about it was like the randomized Bloody Palace. I thought was awesome because it was kind of like something that the mainline games needed. You just needed like a roguelike mode, like with buffs, or like at least a randomizer in the official release without mods. That would have added a lot of replay value. And that was one of the really cool things, that was kind of the weekly thing that you did in the game. You just kind of had to do a full Bloody Palace, and they gave you you know, save states so you could come back if you wanted, since obviously it's a mobile game. You can't expect somebody to drain their battery doing an entire Bloody Palace in one sitting. But other than that, they had like no repeatable content. There was no endgame content. They would go months without anything at all. And it's very strange that instead of just keeping what was there, but like bringing the game back and fixing that stuff, they decided to just dumb down the game. It was like the combat was not the problem, even with stuff like Wuthering Waves and things out now, which is actually kind of close to how Peak of Combat play. Like, that game's combat is still better, but it was a terrible service game. I could not, in good conscience, recommend it to anybody, at least not to spend money on. Spending money on that game was a really bad value, because you're basically just gambling, and you had no pity system. I think someone said it was like hundreds of dollars to get Virgil guaranteed. Now, I got lucky, and I got him off a lucky draw. But, they put a lot of effort into him, too. There were so many different moves in that game. Like, they had the Aquila from DMC Reboot. They had that, and they had, the Mirage Edge and the Beowulf had, like, so many new moves. It was so much fun, but it just wasn't a good game to play daily, and I think that's part of the reason why it failed. The monetization and the lack of content killed the game pretty much. So the way of fixing it was dumbing the game down. Like, most of the 2.0 characters at launch, they took those moves from those movesets, and they just cut them across characters. It's like the equivalent of like, you know, you have like a big bag of popcorn, and you give like one portion to everybody that you're sitting with. That's basically what they did. They took that big bag of all those new moves and stuff that they made, and they gave like 2 of them, and they made a character out of that, which feels way worse. From what I understand with the modern POC, the last couple characters have been more in-depth. They've actually been listening to people and making them more like the original game, but it's just too little too late. And apparently, from what I understand, I haven't played the game in like a long time, but apparently it's the same problem of like just not having anything but the characters, which is that's very PGR coded. I think PGR's got a good amount of extra modes now, that the game isn't just doing the endgame modes and logging off. I think that game has the best of both worlds, because if you only have a couple minutes to play every day, or you play like multiple gacha games and you don't have too much time to spend on one, it's nice that the game is designed that way, and you only have to play like a couple hours a week. But they do have like side modes now that you can play, and I think that solves the problem, but Peak of Combat does not. But yeah, I still get a lot of comments on those videos where people are like, I want this version of the game back. I'm like, no you don't. You do not want that version of the game back. Say that you want the combat back, you do not want that version of the game back, because it's a bad service game. And unlike a premium game, like if the only good thing about the game is the combat, kind of like Assault Spy, where like the graphics and presentation aren't great, but the gameplay is what keeps you coming back, that doesn't work for a service game where you need people to get addicted and play the game on a regular basis, and then have them donate to the game so it stays up. That just doesn't work. It's very weird. It's like they went out of their way to make a very good combat system that's still better than anything else on the market, in leaps and bounds. Way better than Zenless. It's quite a bit better than Wuthering Waves, but Wuthering Waves is definitely close, but not quite, because the movesets are way smaller. But it just didn't deliver as a service game. There wasn't much of a reason to play it every day. And that's a shame. And I think people will get very misguided when they see those videos. It looks really good when you're watching somebody play it. Actually playing that game every day was painful, because they did not add the right things to it. They would just give you, like a new legendary that you couldn't guarantee, you had to gamble for it. Genshin Impact popularizing 50-50 pity proves that people will gamble for stuff even if they have a statistically low chance of getting it, but like you can't do that and then have no pity. Like no one's gonna play the game. And that's pretty much what happened. Spending money on that game felt like throwing your wallet in the fire. It's like putting your cash in the fireplace, pretty much. But from what I understand, the game seems to be making a bit of a comeback with like the last couple characters apparently have been pretty deep, or deeper than before. They almost compare to 1.0 Dante, Virgil, and Lady.
Breakdown! Blast off! Breakdown!
Yeah, it was devoid of content. They just made a lot of really dumb decisions that didn't make them money. Like the story mode in that game, even in the one that's in 2.0, is I mean, it's basically a whole DMC campaign, right? It's about as long. Now, granted, when you start, you can't do all of it at once, but it is like a full DMC game campaign for technically free. The fact that you get a full campaign is pretty cool. I would say that, like, if you don't want to spend money on the game or play it every day, um, at least play the campaign and check out the combat. It's pretty cool, but it that's the thing about story modes in these games is they don't make much money. Even stuff like Genshin and Wuthering Waves, it's like when they update with story stuff, even if you care about the story, it's a couple hours of content that you never do again. That's why they have stuff like the side modes, to keep you playing, because that's what's going to make money. The story mode keeps people invested, but it doesn't make money. And I don't really think they understood that when they decided to make like a literal entire premium DMC campaign that's about as long as an actual game. So like from 1 to 5 in the reboot. But then, it doesn't make any money. It's a lot of resources and it's not repeatable. Gacha games make money off repeatable content and power creep. Now, they didn't really have power creep. Well, they did have power creep in that game. It was, but you had to spend a lot of money. You could get Navan and use, like, Jam Session, and you could beat the Bloody Palace in a few minutes if you're a whale. I never got to that point. The other thing that you're not going to hear many people talk about, when they did the CN version of Peak of Combat, the 2.0, they gave us a 300% rebate. So basically, whatever you spent on 1.0, you got a 300% rebate. And I'm surprised I have not seen anyone talk about this. But basically, they let that version of the game die. They added like V and I think Count Thunder Virgil, and that was it. They added like 2 or 3 characters, and then they left it. They left it in maintenance mode. I can't even understand what they were thinking. Now I understand that, in that country, gacha games are way more competitive than they are here. But they let that game die. So I am very pissed, because I spent a fair amount to make those videos of that game that did pretty well. I spent a fair amount of money. Now it wasn't thousands of dollars, but it was easily probably 200, 300. Now they gave me a rebate, so that basically meant that I got like $1,000 worth of currency, but they didn't update the game. They stopped updating it after like 2 months, and they left it up forever, and they never updated it. So the rebate was functionally useless, especially when you consider launch 2.0 characters, which were basically just the move sets from 1.0, but cut into multiple characters. That still makes me mad to this day. I thought that I was kind of a little bit okay with them dumbing down the combat, because I essentially would have been able to make videos for every character without spending a cent, because I had enough currency for like probably like 1,000 pulls or something because of the rebate. But then they stopped updating it. Like, I don't understand why they let the game die twice. Because they did add more content and they did make it a little bit more accessible, but it still had the same problem. They just did not update it. And then they shut it down. So first what happened was 2.0 CN came up, and 1.0 was still playable, but it was in maintenance mode, but you could still access your stuff. And then 1.0 shut down, and 2.0 was still up, but they added basically nothing to it. The only original thing that they made for 2.0 CN, I think, was Count Thunder, and even then, he's mostly recycled from the new moves from 1.0 for Virgil for the Force Edge, and then they made the first version of V, and that was it. That definitely is part of the reason why I don't play the global version, because I got fleeced really hard. I supported that game a lot. I told people that it was the best combat in the service game market, best melee combat you could get, and then my thanks for that is basically getting fleeced, telling me I'm going to get a triple what I spent, which was, I have no idea how much it was. It couldn't have been more than like 200 or 300. So like Dolphin, especially for the couple years the game was up, they gave me all that back, and then they didn't update the game, so there was nothing to spend it on. Yeah, there's my mini video essay on Peak of Combat and what went wrong. And a lot of people will not be able to tell you that information because they didn't play it. But it wasn't as good as it seemed in the videos. It really wasn't. It's a lot harder to only have combat be the good thing about a game when it's a service game and it's reliant on people playing and donating constantly to stay up. Assaults by, the graphics aren't great. It kind of looks like the character models basically look like they're from like a mid-budget PS2 game. The combat is great, right? The game is only $20 when it's not on sale. You can constantly get it on sale for like $5. That's great for that price, but like, if that game was a service game, it would suck, right? Because it's got 2 campaigns, a large moveset, but not anything to really keep you playing. So that's still a problem on 2.0, but much less so. They have fixed most of those issues. I've heard good things about the last couple of characters that have been added actually being close to the depth of 1.0, the main 3 characters, but I can't vouch for that myself, because I haven't played it. Yeah. It's a masterclass on how to make a game worth playing for the gameplay, but then have absolutely no idea how to get people to stick around and spend money, which, for that kind of game, is a death sentence. People want to give you money, but it has to be worth it. There has to be a pity system. There has to be a steady stream of content so that people don't feel like the game is going to shut down. And they pretty much failed to deliver. And that's why the game failed. But I don't know. I've heard decent things about the new characters, but I can't confirm or deny myself. Hopefully we'll get another service game with combat on that level, but probably not. At the rate things are going, probably not. Seems like a pipe dream. We'll ever get a game with combat that cool ever again. Seems highly unlikely. Now everything is a Genshin Impact clone. Genshin doesn't even have good combat. Sec here. Is it on here yet? No, of course not. I definitely would give it another chance if they had a PC port. But they don't want to do that for some reason. I don't know why. Be more willing to give it a chance if it had a PC port, but it doesn't. Playing on the phone is trash, even with the controller support. Did it really bomb? How well did it sell? I don't really obsess over sales numbers. How well did it sell? It sell poorly? Like, what do you mean by bombed? How bad did it do? I know the player counts on Steam has been pretty low, considering, the fact that you get the season pass for free and they have the soccer player in the game. None of that really seems to have helped, which, I mean, anybody could have told you that. It's pretty obvious that putting that guy in the game did more harm than good. Yeah, we should not put real people in video games. There's too many risks. Clearly, it wasn't worth it. Clearly, it wasn't worth it. That's the funny thing. What happened with that game with putting the soccer player in it was what everybody was saying on the internet. It's like you'll get a couple people that will play it for like a weekend, and then they'll never log on again. Which I mean is normal for every fighting game, but I think they were expecting it to like make the game make so much money. I'm like, it won't. It's no different than any other fighting game. Fighting games just don't keep people interested on the level that other like service games do. You're pretty much just playing matches over and over. It's not surprising that it didn't do well. It actually looks very fun to play, but it's just hard to justify the price when it's going to be a Discord fighter so quick. It's going to be a Discord fighter so quick, and then I don't currently have places to play games like that right now. So I'm more into single player games because I can play them. I can play them by myself, and I don't need to worry about a player base. Well, I'm pretty sure the season pass is free because they knew that they were going to get a lot of backlash for putting real people in the game. Which, I don't care what anybody says, they do take up character slots. It's pretty clear that there was supposed to be like at least one more actual Fatal Fury character, but then they decided that they couldn't deliver another character by the deadline, so all those characters got held back for DLC. I mean, I don't know how much of an effect this makes on it supposedly not doing well, but I can definitely say that there were a lot of people who didn't want to buy the game because the soccer player is in it, and he's got some really bad allegations against him right now, and that's kind of the danger of that's the danger of putting real people in the game, right? Real people have baggage. You know, Terry Bogard is not going to go get canceled. They're not gonna dig up something Terry Bogard said on Twitter when he was 15 and get him canceled. He's not an actual person. He cannot get canceled. Putting real people in a game like that is a huge risk. They definitely did lose some sales by putting him in there, and clearly it didn't do anything to get casuals to play, which anybody could have told them that. It was painfully obvious. That would work in like a sports game or something. You know, if they brought back like an arcade soccer game or something, arcade soccer franchise or something, and they put him in there, like that would sell copies. But in a fighting game, it's just not going to do anything. That's pointless. Yeah, there's too many risks with putting real people in games. I'm surprised that it still happens, to be honest. If I was making like a character action game, I would not put a real person. At the very least, I would not put their likeness. You know, if it's just somebody's voice and they do something to get canceled, it's like not that bad because you can easily replace the lines. Now, there are some exceptions, like the Paimon voice actor in Genshin is under a lot of fire right now for basically, I guess a lot of the voice actors are striking, and she's still working. Now, that's an interesting case because that's a game where your character doesn't talk, right? And Paimon is supposedly like the voice of the playable character. So she's got like 5 years of lines. Like they cannot replace her easily. But it's very rare for that to be a thing, right? Most like people that voice act, they don't have like 5 years worth of lines, right? It's like one game's worth. which even for something like a Grand Theft Auto game is not much. But it's easier if it's a voice actor that gets canceled than like an actual face of the person. Like that's just a whole mess. Like when they took the completionist out of Sea of Stars, they were able to do it pretty easily because I don't think he had any voice lines. It was mostly his likeness. So they just drew another sprite and they turned him into a generic NPC, and that was the end of it. Like they were able to get around that pretty quick because it wasn't like he had like a whole game's worth of voice lines that they had to replace. It was just his face and a sprite, and maybe he said like a couple things, but nothing to the point that it would be hard to get rid of him. Yeah, hopefully they'll learn their lesson and don't do that again because it definitely did not help. I don't know how much of an impact it made on sales, but there were a decent amount of people that said that they didn't feel comfortable buying the game because he was in it. They don't want to be reminded of his allegations every time they play it. I'm like, yeah, that's why you don't put real people in the games. That's why you don't do it. It's that simple, really. Kratos has done many things that would get him canceled in real life, but luckily he's not a real person. Kratos has done enough to get blacklisted from the entertainment industry, but he's not an actual person. There's a difference. You could make like a 30-hour video essay on all the crimes he's committed, but again, he's not real. You can get away with it when he's not real. It's pretty funny when Vic Mignogna got canceled. They just replaced him with Johnny Young Bosch in Dragon Ball Fighters. You know it's bad when you get canceled online and they just replace you with Johnny Young Bosch, who is like the former uh, guy you would get to replace anybody. Like if you need a hot-blooded protagonist voice, you would just get him, and he would be in like 10 different projects a year. I thought that was hilarious personally. They didn't even really put a lot of effort. It's like, Johnny Young Bosch doesn't have any dirt on him. We're gonna get him to replace Vic. That decision probably only took like a few minutes. Because that's exactly how it was for me growing up. Hearing his voice in every game and not being able to separate it from Power Rangers because that's where he got his start. Like, yeah, Brawly's just Johnny Young Bosch now. Now, granted, he's definitely got the voice for it, but I still found that very funny. How quickly they came to that decision. It's like some things never changed from the early 2000s. Johnny Young Bosch is two Tails characters. Now, granted, it barely counts because he's only one. Actually, no, he's three. He's three Tails characters. He's the only person that's three Tails characters, at least for a playable character, as far as I know. Only him. He is Kless in the anime. He's Guy in Abyss, and then he is Emil in Symphonia: Dawn of the New World. Yeah, they spammed him a lot back then. Johnny Young Bosch has also been both versions of Yukimura. So Yukimura from this game, and then the one that's in Dynasty Warriors or Samurai Warriors. he's been both versions of Yukimura. He's got some pretty impressive overlapped roles because in the first two Warriors Orochi games, he voices Yukimura, and then when they brought 3 over here, they got him to do it. So he voiced both versions of those characters at the same time. Yeah, I'm getting ready for Muso Mei. There's going to be a Muso Mei this year because, well, A, I need money, and B, Lost Solo Side got delayed, so I have a dead end of the month. It'll be, should be next week. I'm planning on doing that. I gotta get a couple more games ready. I'll probably put some work into that, maybe tomorrow or something. But yeah, next week or the week after should be, Muso Mei. I'm just gonna do like a week's worth, I think. I think a week is enough. I think that's enough to make people happy. Whether I get any donos or not is whatever. Ugh.
しも俺には到底真似できないな。無の境地にさえ至れば貴殿すら打ち果たせよ。いらんもの励め。心の迷いは技の迷いよ。思いがあろう。申し訳ございませぬ。運を祈る。いざ進撃。石田君が勝利。島の左近が打ち取った。
Basara 20th anniversary, guys. I share my 20th anniversary with this legendary franchise, but they're not gonna do jack shit for it. I already tell you that right now. They didn't do anything for the 15th. They're not doing jack for the 20th. I can tell you that right now. Do not get excited. I will probably end up doing more for the 20th anniversary than they will. I definitely will do some Basara 20th anniversary stuff. Probably like a full playthrough or something. Maybe a lightly edited video, because I know that it won't do well and it's not worth the effort. But I'll do something for Basara 20th. Might as well. The company's not going to do jack shit. I'll tell you that right now. Yes, please. If I wasn't permanently in poverty, I would commission that myself. Just give somebody a couple grand. Like, hey, just put these movesets in this game in DMC, please.
こう見えて俺らもさ、男を鍛えてんだぜ。配下に先立たれる虚しいないだ。そろそろ攻勢に転じる気やもしれぬ。度胸に上昇、地域に上位なし。シャグマがなびいてる。よくぞそこまで鍛え上げた。手加減などせん。全力で行く。
No, you can parry it and it goes away. I'm just rusty. Just rusty.
Toyotomi no Sawanに近しい島左近。まあ、こんなもんでしょう。
Best Muso moveset right here is this character. He's got a good, like, 20 moves. He's got a good, like, 20-something moves. Might be more than that. But he's got a massive moveset. Moveset the size of Texas. This one's cool because you get Nunchaku with it. There's your Nunchaku representation. Yeah, she's really cool too. Oh, that's right, my save for this didn't... I gotta get it off my Steam Deck. Alright, well... That's one of the things I need to do for Muso, mate. I gotta get the save off my Steam Deck, so, none of that tonight. Sorry to disappoint. My save didn't transfer. But yeah, I was gonna do, I think for Muso May, I'm gonna do like one game a day, and they might be streams, they might be videos, but I'll do Basaro 4, I'll do, Bat Ride War, probably Fist of the North Star as well, Gundam Reborn, Origins, Orochi 3, Orochi 4, probably Pirate Warriors 3, and then like maybe one more game, and that would be a good week of content. I haven't quite set it in stone yet. I'm gonna let people make requests, especially since I'm partially trying to get donations for this, because I'm down to like nothing right now. I definitely need support, and I want to give something in return. So I'm gonna put some effort into that. Yeah, the only thing I really need to do is get the PS3 games running. Yeah, I have the Switch games too, so I think I'll just like make a poll tonight and let people choose what games they want. And yeah, because I have access to those too. My legal copies. I mean, I could show you guys the games I've got. Hold on. Yeah, I got a couple Muso games in here I can do. More than enough for 1 week. More than enough for 1 week. There, you guys can see it. So for Muso games, I have both Fire Emblems. I have both Hyrule Warriors as well. So yeah, I think it would be best to just let people to vote. People can vote for what they want, and then I'll make a decision. And then maybe if I get enough support, I'll possibly do more. Maybe I'll do a couple extra days or something. But yeah, I do have these 4 games here. But I'll let you guys decide pretty much. But yeah, these are my dumped games. I gotta try Astral Chain again with 60 FPS. That might be something to do during a dry period. Uh, like Common Rider as well. Bat Ride. Not Bat Ride, but Memory of Heroes would be fun to do again. Well, I think I'm done for now. I think I'm actually going to prepare a little bit for Muso May. So, thanks for watching, everybody. I was thinking about going until PGR comes back up, but I don't want to promise that because sometimes they extend maintenance and it's another hour and 45 minutes away. So I'm going to hang out in my Discord and get some of this stuff ready. I think I'm going to try to install the newer Switch emulator because I think it might run the Muso games better. So I'm going to do some prep time for Muso May. If you guys want to hang out in my Discord, I'll be in the voice chat. Hang out there for a bit. I'm going to stay up until the PGR update. So I'll hang out in there. I'm going to do some prep time. I don't really want to stream it because, well, no real reason. It's just kind of boring to watch. It's not very interesting to watch. So yeah, I'm in the voice chat right now. You guys can hang out in there if you want. If you're lurking, here's the link. I stream in there more often now, and then also I'll be using the streaming in there on a more regular basis. I kind of started using it more when the ingest server was all messed up and I couldn't stream on my YouTube channel for like a week. But I'll definitely be watching stuff in there, and if you want to see games that don't make it to the channel, I'll be in there more often. Like No Rest for the Wicked, for instance. I bought that game and thought that maybe I could make some cool videos for it, but I ended up not liking it. So I streamed a good chunk of that in there, and I just decided it wasn't worthy of being on the channel in its current state. So if that kind of thing interests you, you can go ahead and hop in the server. I also tell people when I'm doing streams in there as well, so you don't have to rely on YouTube. I'll see you guys. Well, I might come back when PGR Reset comes up, but that's going to depend on if they actually come up in time. Because oftentimes they don't. So, Power Flood Limitless guy, if you want to hang out in there, I'm in there right now. Anybody else is welcome too.